morning, everyone. I will, so first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much for the possibility to discuss this topic here in almost the central of Europe. I don't think I will be able to deliver like rather like soft academic approach to the issue. I will start with the question. So, how many of you here in the room assess the organized crime as something that is morally wrong or ethically wrong? Let's say ethically wrong. So, okay, so we are done here. I think that starting from this point, I would like to invite you to sit calmly and to think about the issues that have been discussed here and are about to be discussed here, because this is something what is, from my perspective, the main challenge to discuss the correlation or discuss the relation between migration in contemporary European Union, and not to go away from this discrepancy of what Angela Merkel did wrong, what Viktor Orban did wrong, what Austrians did wrong, and what those bloody Czechs, Slovaks, those from Eastern Europe did wrong, and etc. etc. I guess we more or less agree here in the room that the rule of law is something that should be the basis of our, let's say, the European Union or the societies that the European Union is based upon, and how it is correlated with the organized crime and the migration. I will go to the three examples that are related to the Balkan region, as exposed by the so-called migration crisis of 2015 and 16 the most, and we can enjoy the possibility of having the mixture of you here in the room coming from different countries and different backgrounds. I will start with one little, from that perspective, I will start with one little story. In 2018, when the migration crisis suddenly emerged in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and suddenly there was like too many migrants visibly present in Sarajevo and then later on in Bihać. At that time I was teaching in Sarajevo, so I used the opportunity of, when traveling home, because I'm from the Czech Republic, when traveling home I went through Bihać. I asked a friend of mine who is originally from Bihać if she can recommend me the place to stay, because obviously she's local, and we all want to help the local communities and the local people to assist with their businesses. So she recommended me the place. I called there to book the room, and when I arrived there, there was a problem, because the lady told me, "Oh, I didn't know that you are coming, two of you. I have just a room I have just one, the single room for you, so not the double room." And I was like, how is this possible? The parking lot is empty, so like, it was the May, so not the high season, so what's the point here? And then she promised to fix it, and she made some calls, and then suddenly like, people came and all started to sort it out. Later during the evening, I realized, because of the previous experience from Serbia, that suddenly we ended up in the smuggling hub. That the people coming of mainly Middle East origin, mainly from Pakistan, are using the premises to organize the smuggling business to Schengen countries, so mainly Slovenia and then further Croatia and Italy. So it's like, okay, so should I judge the lady that she is making money on the migration crisis, or should I judge that, or should I be morally perceiving her as something that there is something wrong, because like, come on, it's the very rational choice. So the place is exposed by the migration, they are bringing money, as you know, it's quite logical thing. So everyone wants its piece of the cake. It's very logical. But the question is, should we blame the people on the local communities that are cooperating within the local communities that cooperate at this board has like kind of broad sense with the organized crime, and are the smugglers of participants of organized crime? Well, I think they are. But at the same time, like, I don't feel in a position to say like, I will never visit this place again because they work with smugglers. And should I blame the smugglers of being part of the business? Then they are just making money, or they are using the window of opportunity that the migration crisis brought. So if there is demand, there are the services. So I mean, there is nothing to be perceived as something as moral or ethic consideration in the whole thing. So this is the one story. The second story is, since I belong to the generation who experienced the transformation of Central Eastern Europe the most, and since we traveled with my parents to seaside in the early 90s, so and Austria and Italy, the price for the petrol at that time was kind of high for us. So that on the way to Italy, we always took the detour to Slovenia to take the cheap petrol, because simply it was like very cheap. So we went on the bordering region between Austria, Slovenia, and Italy through the from my childhood well-known place, which is called Wurzenbas, which is the mountain crossing between Villach and Kranjska Gora, in that region. And 2 years back, again, the very same period, I wanted to visit this place that was like in my from my childhood imagination. It is very steep hill on the mountain crossing. Then the same amount of petrol that is saved for the prices used to get the car up. So, but this time we went from the other side, from the Slovenian side, and the Austrian, for those who know the place, on the Austrian side is really, really steep. So, really steep. So you need to know the place in order to accommodate the car conditions, not to broke your brakes on the car. But suddenly, like when we went down towards Austria, there was the Mercedes Transporter, or the van, with the plate from Köln, from Germany, and the guy was standing next to the car, and there was like, he had a problem with the brakes, so the car was into some way unstoppable, and it was like really smelly around the car. So I stopped and asked the guy, like, if he needs an assistant or water, just to pour the water on the brakes to cool it down, and so that he can continue. And with the slight Slavic accent, he kindly refused this offer. And we can guess why he refused this kind of offer, since the van on the working bus doesn't know the place, etc., etc. At the same time, when the Austrian authorities introduced the semi-intense the border controls, which was not officially called as a border control on the highway crossing between Slovenia and Austria. So the easiest way how to avoid the control is to go via the Wurzenbas, which is not allowed for the trucks. And the last story I want you to mention is this picture. This one, which is I mean, this is so Balkan, and so telling us not. I'm sorry. This is not so Balkan. This is so. This is the testimony of our age how to fix the migration crisis. This is the border between Slovenia and Croatia, and alongside the border here is Croatia, here is Slovenia, and there is the river Kupa. For those who are in these areas, they know the place. So since there was a big influx of people, or who were managing to get to the Schengen zone in 2015 and 16, Slovenian authorities decided to erect this kind of fake fence. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is the following. Look at the fence. How it is structured alongside the property of the pension that is placed on the riverbank of the river Kupa, which is saying we want to show that we are protecting our people, but at the same time we know that we don't want to crush your business in this very nice environment. So we will build up the fence alongside your property, which is, and obviously this is like without surveillance, etc. So this is really like fake fence, as I call the Slovenian colleagues are. When I mentioned this and showed the picture, they felt offended that I'm making a joke of the Slovenian way of protecting their territory. But I hope no one here in the room feels offended by this, for now at least. And the very last point I would like to mention is the following. There are like 4 pictures, and there is one thing that I'm really curious if you manage to solve. So this is the one picture. This is the second picture. The third picture, and the last picture. This is no secret. It's if you go to Google Maps and put the street view on the triple point between Hungary, Serbia, and Romania, you will get the impression about the correlation between the rule of law, organized crime in some way, and the message sent, the message that is that tells a lot about the world we are now living in, and that we are experiencing something that it's really hard somehow to capture and to identify. So the point here, the erection of fence, September 2015. So this well-known opening of border made by Angela Merkel, millions of people, and just managing to get to the European Union. So this is 1 year later, October 2016. You see that there's like significant improvement of the border management of Hungarian authorities. You see that the preparation for the triple fence, so there are like 2 layers of the fence. It's on the Hungarian territory, so it's not violating the Schengen border code, obviously. The electricity grid ready to be used. This is 1 year later, October 2017. So you see the facility for the surveillance, the grid already prepared. Just to collect the plastics and the different type of the garbage, so it's important also, and the facility for the border guards. So you mean like if you just follow the pictures, you can get the impression that the peak of the crisis was in 2017 and not in March 2016. And the irony is this: new border crossing on the very same place on the edge of the fence, the border between Hungary and Romania, because before the migration crisis, it was the plan to open the sort of like memorial center at this very place to commemorate the cooperation in Serbia, Hungary, and Romania. Which is, I mean, this is just an example how the winners of the whole very complex and very complicated situations have been, why Hungary and Austria won in the political game. First of all, they have leaders that were ready to implement the policy with long-term strategy. It's the point number one. The B, they had the vision how to manage the problem and how to manage the situation, and they were willing to play the game on the European level. And the C, the visions and the aims of the member states of the European Union are bounded by two different things. First of all, they are different strategies how to deal with the migration, reform of the Schengen system, and the reform asylum seeker policy on the within the European Union. So, since there is no willingness to cooperate among the member states of the European Union, there is a space to implement and to introduce the policy that are of the national strategy. And the more you are prepared, the more vision you have, and the more willingness you have to implement your own vision, the more advanced you are in the let's say framing the policy or framing the discourse, that you are ready to protect your people. In terms of your people, meaning the national context, your people doesn't mean the context of the European Union. So again, going back to the very beginning of my speech, I think we are not ready to acknowledge that organized crime is something that is the main threat to the place or the space we are living in terms of it's very hard to orient what is good and what is bad. It's very hard to judge. It's easy to judge someone in behalf who is offering his or her place to smugglers. But it's really hard to acknowledge that, come on, like this is the problem that is multidimensional, and since we don't speak about the roots or like the basics of the problems, then we are not able to reach the common denominator saying the migration crisis is not to be solved by this or by the Slovenian or Croatian or whatever kind of fence. And unfortunately, our imagination of what is the rule of law and the perception of the rule of law is something that, we all here in the room, I guess we agree that the rule of law is the founding stone of our society. But on the other hand, we are not ready to say, okay, there are simply things that can't be solved or can't be fixed by applying rule of law, because what is rule of law here? I mean, is the rule of law of the Hungarian state? Most probably yes. Is Hungarian state obliged to harmonize its legal standards according to the Schengen border code? Yes. Is Hungarian law violating Schengen border code? Yes. Is the Court of Justice of the European Union has the competence over the Hungarian authorities? No. So So you see, I mean, this is the case of Hungary, and we can take different states and different parts, the different states, individual states within the European Union, and we can apply the same logic as well. So this is something what is, from my perspective, really huge, not just a political challenge, but rather the intellectual challenge to acknowledge the situation is sustainable when we think about it from the national context, from this every 4 years to win the election. Okay, maybe yes, this is sustainable. From the perspective of developing the European Union as the legal sort of value-based community, I don't think so. In order to approach the migration as black and white, yes, this might be fixed like that. But the more you start to ask the questions why and how, as we are trained in social sciences, the more uncomfortable questions will appear, which make us to think whether the categories of good and bad and black and white, and these can be applicable to our concepts that we think that are founding stones of the current environment. I'm done.